So welcome to today's video. Today we are looking at ultramarine blues, and this will be quite a long video because I have a lot of ultramarine blues. It's the most used blue in watercolor. Um, Therefore, you will find it even in the smallest palettes, exception with special themed palettes, like one made especially only for botanical uh, arts and stuff like that. So yeah, um, that's why I have really a lot of ultramarine blues. We have 3 complete sheets full of swatches to do. I was thinking about splitting the video, but then I thought it is harder for you to compare the blues if there is a week or two in between the videos. So I thought, no, let's do it in one go. And the first one I will be swatching is this one from Royal Talents. It's called Talents Creation. It's something like, I would say, a kids or so watercolor set. I'm not quite sure, but that is the cheapest watercolors I know from this brand. I've got them on sale. 24 colors in tubes. I think they are containing 10 milliliters, and I got it for 10 euros. Yeah, you heard right, 10 euros. It's really, really, really cheap. That's the same company that also makes the Van Gogh and the Rembrandt watercolors. So yeah, that's because the one Rembrandt are the artist and Van Gogh the student grade range. So I thought it would be a step under this other twos. I must say I haven't used this colors a lot, but when I used it, I was really, really surprised how good they are for in comparison for how less they cost. So if you are on a very, very tight budget, this could be maybe a set for you. I will definitely make a complete video about the set in the future. So if there's something you are interested, then I will definitely do this. I would say the granulation is not very strong, but you definitely can see a bit of granulation when you are watching tightly on the swatch. I have the swatches now completely dry before me, and I will definitely do a close-up of all the swatches at the end of the video when they are completely dried. So the next one I will be using is this set from Superior, and that's a Chinese brand, and you may know them from all these cute foldable and fan-like palettes. And I have a lot of them, and they really, really surprised me with their quality. They're very cheap, but also very good. And that's the reason why I've thought I buy this 48 half pan set. I must say, some of the colors in the half pan set are not as good as the ones in the foldable sets or in the fan sets. I'm not quite sure why, but if you are interested in buying superior watercolors, I would not buy the half pan sets. I would buy one of the other sets because the quality is better there. Like I said, I don't know why, but this ultramarine blue here really, really surprised me in comparison with the other low budget and student grade sets because it's really, really highly pigmented, very strongly granulating, and it gets very, very dark. So that's very, very, very good. And I must say, I like this one a lot. Depending on how much you are liking granulation, that of course, is to be considered in your choice of which set or colors you are buying, because there are some colors like the Talus Creation we swatched first, which are very, very low in granulation, very subtle in granulation. So if you are not a fan of that, brands like that could be more interesting for you. Or if you are like me and love granulation a lot, then colors like the one from Superior here could be one you are interested in. This one from Superior is called French Ultramarine, and that is also something to consider. There are different versions of ultramarine blue. We have the normal ultramarine blue, which is considered to be the green shade, and we have the French ultramarine, which is considered to be the red shade. Also, most times the French ultramarines are granulating more than the other versions. There are also versions which has been ground very, very much. So they are very subtle in their granulation, like the Talents one we swatched first. But in Artist Grade, for example, from Schmincke Horadam, they have an ultramarine version called Ultramarine Finest, which we will be swatching later in the video as well. And it is also one which has a lot less granulation. It's super subtle. So there are options to buy non or not non-granulating, but very low granulating ultramarine blue in tubes or pans, single handily, so that you don't have to buy a whole set. This one I will be swatching now is from Himimiya. It's the one with this funny square-shaped blocks in it, which are forming these beautiful stars. And with brands like that, the Himimiya set is also one which costs very, very low. So it's a good choice if you are on a very tight budget, because the colors are very, very good for this price category. And if you are, or if you have a low budget set already and you are not quite sure if it's a real pigment based watercolors or if it's dye based, because a lot of the cheap brands are dye based, and I will not be swatching any dye based watercolors here, because this is a video about pigments. And so all the ones we are swatching here are pigment based. But if you are not sure if your color is pigment based or not, ultramarine blue is always my personal help to know if it's pigment or dye based watercolors, because of the granulation. Because even colors which are ground so finely that you nearly can't see the granulation. If you add a lot of water, you will definitely see some granulation. And if it doesn't granulate at all, that is a very good hint that it is a dye-based watercolor. So we can see definitely a granulation here in the Himimiya watercolor. So that's the point where I can definitely say it's a pigment-based watercolor, even if I don't get any pigment information with this set, which is something the Talents Creation also has in common. They don't offer pigment information to the watercolors. At least I couldn't find any on the packaging or the tubes. And that is something you will find a lot in the very cheap sector of watercolors and in some of the student grade paints as well. So the one I will be swatching I am swatching now is Moss Art Komorebi watercolors. That's watercolors which are by design more like a Gansai Tambi paint. I don't know what binder they're using. I didn't look it up, or I couldn't find any information so far. If you know it, please let me know. So it's more like a Japanese traditional watercolor. They have this full pans, which are upside down, not from left to right, but in their length in the box, so it looks a little bit different. But also this ultramarine, it granulates, so we know there are definitely pigments in these colors, even if they don't offer any pigment information. The next one I will be swatching is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. And my set is super old, like around 15 years or so. I've bought it a long time ago, before they're starting getting any hypes on YouTube. That is also why at the time I've bought the set, you didn't get any color names. It only were written down in Japanese, and you only have a number. And nowadays they come with a translation of the names. So we have the English naming as well. And nowadays you also can look up the pigments finally on the website from Kuretake. So the ultramarine blue is the number 64, and it's called ultramarine, and it contains the PB29 pigment. So it's a genuine ultramarine pigment. It doesn't granulate a lot, so it's super, super subtle. You have the number system and the Japanese name printed on the pans as well. And if you ever wondered why the pans are so big and not fully filled, that is a reason, because paints like that are meant to be used in traditional Japanese art, and you are working with a lot of big brushes then there, and also for calligraphy, and that is the reason why the pans are so big and not completely filled, so that you can go easily in with bigger brushes only, and sorry, also using a lot of water without creating a mess or damaging the bristles of your brush. So yeah, that's the whole reason why it isn't fully filled and why the pans are so big. Also, if you are interested in how much is contained in a half-filled pan like that, someone already happily for me, because I'm not very good with math, calculated that, and it is around a full pan and a half pan. So you get 1.5 pans of color in this Gansai Tambi pans. So the next brand is also an Gansai Tambi color. It's from the Japanese color company Kisho, and it is also an ultramarine blue. I don't have any information about color names or pigments in this brand, but I can easily detect that this must be a PB29 because of the color and the granulation. It granulates very beautifully. Depending on where I live, of course, the prices from the sets and brands differ. In Germany, the Kuretake Gansai Tambi are more on the cheap side, and the Kisho colors are more on the expensive side. So they are, I think, easily double the price from the Kuretake. That's why not a lot of I have not met a lot of people using the Kisho ones, but I must say I like them a lot. They are very nice and highly pigmented. When I compare the two Gansai Tambi paints, the ultramarine, then I must say I like the Kisho version a lot more. It's much more pigmented. It gets a lot more darker because of it, and also it granulates more strongly because, yeah, like I said, I love granulation. So of course I like the versions which granulates more than the ones that don't. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I think I should do a comparison video between those two Kansai paints in the future. Would be interesting to see how the other colors compare to each other. The next two colors I will be swatching, I have written down first Jane Davenport, and the next one I written down Mangyo. Mangyo is a Korean brand, and they do a lot of white labeling. So you find their watercolors under different names, like Jane Davenport, for example, or which is an Australian artist, by the way. And also you will find them under the name Art Philosophy or Prima Marketing. All those brands are basically Mangyo watercolors, and when you are buying Mangyo watercolors directly, they are much cheaper than the white labeled brands. So the first one is from the golden set from Jane Davenport, as you may have seen, and that is I don't remember the name because she has a lot of weird naming from with the colors like 70s eyeshadows and something like that. Um, so never the classic traditional color names. But it is a single PB29 color. That's why we are swatching it. And the funny thing is, when you are looking at the Mangyo watercolors, you will find a PB29 in the 48 pen set I have, but it is called Cobalt Blue. So they don't do any cobalts or cadmiums because they are using a lot of cheaper pigments, and that's also the reason why a lot of those companies watercolors are not light fast. So keep that in mind. Same goes for the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. I know they are writing down on their website that all of their colors are light fast, but that's not true. You can look up Kimberly Crick's video about the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, or read her blog, or at least watch her light fastness test on the blog. She has a good photograph, and you see that a lot of the colors, especially in the warmer sector of the colors, are non-light fast because of the pigments they are using. And the color called Ultramarine in the Mangyo watercolor brand, you see that here they have this is the cobalt one, which is the same as this one. And the ultramarine looks a little bit weird here, and that's the reason, because it's not a single pigmented ultramarine blue, because they are adding, God knows why, a PB27 to it, so a Prussian blue. So it doesn't look at all like an ultramarine, in my opinion. The granulation is very subtle as well, so I think there's a lot of PB28 in it, PB27 in it, sorry, which is the Prussian blue, and it is also a color which is not light fast, even when all the brands say that this is a light fast pigment, it isn't. It will fade over time, and the specialty in this is that it can recover a little bit when you put it back in a dark place, but it will never get to the full strength again. That's because of the iron salts in this color, which are reacting with the light. So yeah, keep that in mind. And I personally don't like to call this one an ultramarine blue. It doesn't look like an ultramarine blue. It looks a little bit more like it now than when it's wet, but when it's completely dried, it looks like a weak PB27. So yeah, but I wanted to contain it in this video as well. So the next one we will be swatching is from Paul Rubens, and we have first the one from the Pretty Excellent, or nowadays only called Mei Liang. This is the original 36 set when I've bought it. There were no other sets from them, but they now have, I think it's a 48 set and a 52 set, something like that. So there are is one set where they contained an additional row with metallics, that's the 48 set, and then a set with more colors and also containing pastels and gold and a silver, that's the 52 set. And the next one is another student grade version from Paul Rubens. They have it in tubes, but also there's a pan set of this, and it's a bit of confusing because none of them states student somewhere where I looked it up, but they're student grade paints. The pretty excellent 36 color set cost in Germany around 17 euros. So that's, in my personal opinion, one of the best choices for a student grade set when you are on a budget, because they're very, very, very cheap. They contain some non-light fast pigments. Again, you can see a good light fastness test at Kimberly Crick's blog or the video on her YouTube channel. But a lot of the colors are light fast, and that is something for this for that cheap price, which is not usual. So that's a really, really nice deal. And the colors are very, very good. You can do a lot of great art with it. So yeah, if you would ask me, good, reliable, and student grade sets with at least some or most of the colors are light fast, so you can also make art to give to someone else or to hang up on your walls, then this is my opinion, one of the best choices you can make. And the other set, you've seen, that is a tube set, so I've squeezed in some half pans. And I learned just yesterday that it's called Coraline. You are seeing that all the boxes or the tins from this Coraline Paul Rubens watercolors are in a very light blue. So you have blue metal boxes. The set I have has full pans. Also, that inside of the student grade sets is also, you don't have the traditional metal holders containing the pans, but you have a cheaper plastic thingy where the pans are in. So that is also something. And also the cardboard box where the tubes are in from the Coraline line, they are also in this same light blue. So if you are seeing any Paul Rubens colors, because no website I've seen ever mentioned that this is called Coraline. I learned it on the website from Paul Rubens because I've looked it up. And they are always this with the same light blue. So the artist grade colors from Paul Rubens always have different colors, and there is no a special color which all the boxes or tins are. So that is only with the Coraline line. So the next color we are swatching is from Sonnet. That's the student grade range from the Russian brand Nevskaya Palitra, which also does make the White Nights watercolors, which is their artist grade paint. And I know there are also some colors called Yarka, which I've seen some American YouTubers owning or using. I don't get those in Germany, so we are only getting Sonnet or the White Nights range, so can't say anything about this one. Most of the Sonnet set comes in cardboard boxes with full pans, And this one yellow tin I've showed is the ones set I know in a metal tin. And I like the metal tins from White Nights and from Rosa, which is an Ukrainian brand of watercolors, because they don't have this empty space in between the rows for brushes. Rather than they added a third row in their tins, so you have the best use of the space. So if you ever wanted a tin like that, they are both offering empty tins to buy. So yeah, I really love this tin style, because with those metal tins, I don't use them for traveling, the big ones. So or something sometimes when you are going out, I have special smaller ones which I like to use outdoors or when I'm traveling, and that's the reason why I don't use the brush rest. I have my brushes on my table in an empty glass, so don't need it. I rather have more space for watercolors in the sets. So that is also a cardboard box from Rosa. That's their student grade range. It's called Rosa Studio, and the colors are super cheap. But the Sonnet don't offer any information about the pigments or the light fastness, and the Rosa Studio colors, they do. So yeah, you're having all the information you need. I will link in the description box below, because I've already done a review video about the Rosa Studio watercolor set. So if you are interested in seeing the other watercolors in the set and how they are working and looking, then you can check this video out. I must say, in comparison to the Sonnet, I don't like the Ultramarine version here a lot. It seems to contain a lot of fillers, because it looks a little bit milky when applying the paint, and also in the dried version it looks yeah, like someone has maybe put a white in it, or too much fillers. So in comparison, the Sonnet performs, in my opinion, much better. It granulates beautifully. It gets very, very dark. I don't have the feeling of that it contains a lot of fillers or a white or something like that. So yeah, that is. I really should do a complete comparison, because the colors are very similar in the brands, and maybe I should do a comparison video between Sonnet and Rosa Studio. Also in Germany, I've seen the Rosa Studio watercolors white labeled under the name, I think, Createch. I will show the one in the Rosa Studio video as well. And I've got them for, I think, around 15 euros for this whole set of full pans. I think, what was it, 21 or 24 colors, something like that. So it's very, very a cheap price for good student grade paints. The next one is from Winsor and Newton Cotman, and I think that is probably brand, the student grade brand from Winsor Newton, which most of you are knowing, at least, because it is the most sold student grade watercolors, because it is so easily to get all over the world. In my personal opinion, they are good, but I'm not a big fan of them, because they are so super dry. You have to scrub a lot to get enough paint, and in comparison to other student grade paints, I've seen that they are you are denting them very, very easily. So you are using them up much more faster than other brands. My Schmincke Academy, for example, are super long living. I have this super old 28 year old set, which I've gotten when I was around 10 years old. So I used the set for so many years and didn't, I only ever emptied one half pan ever. And I still have a lot of the old paint. And when I've colored one picture with this Cotman set, where I used a lot of ultramarine blue, it really has a big dent after one drawing. So yeah, that is something to know, which I think is important. Also, they don't revet it as good as other brands. Van Gogh, like we are swatching now, for example, which is next to Schmincke Akademie, in my opinion, the best quality in student grade paints. And they are revetting like a dream, like the Schmincke Akademie as well. They are very highly pigmented and performing super. So I really, really love them a lot. The ultramarine blue is called here ultramarine deep, and it has a very violetish shade to it. I think it might be because they've heated it longer, because when you are heating ultramarine blue over a special amount of time and a special temperature, then you are getting ultramarine violet. So the pigment number changes from PB29 to PB15, and I think this one is at least a little bit more heated because it is a lot more on the violet side than all of the others we will be swatching here. So that's the reason why I'm thinking. So the last one we are swatching is the Schmincke Akademie one, and I've decided to not swatch the version from my old watercolors rather than from the newer set which I've bought last year, because that is the formula you will get when you are buying a new set of Schmincke Akademie watercolors. That's the reason why I thought it should be this what I will be swatching. If you are interested in how the old ones perform against the newer versions, then I will put the link in the description for my comparison video, if you are interested in that, because I was really surprised to see that the quality changed so much and the colors changed so much over time. So a little additional information about the color and the pigment itself I try to put in between. Firstly, the correct name for ultramarine blue is sodium aluminium sulfosilicate. Also, the chemical formula is Na7Al6Si6O24S3. So that is that. Handprint listed it as the a top 40 pigment. It is super light fast, has a very large drying shift to 20 to 30%. That means that it is a lot more darker when it's wet in comparison to when it's completely dried. It is semi-transparent. French ultramarine is the redder and darker shade, and it's a staining color, very dark valued. It is also used in cosmetics and plastics. In cosmetics, you may know it from these super vibrant blue eyeshadows, for example. The French ultramarine is, or that I already said, I'm sorry. The color ranges from reddish blues to greenish blues that I already mentioned as well. And the best complement colors are raw umber PBR7, benzimidazolone orange PO62, the quinacridone orange PO48, the burnt sienna PBR7, and the transparent red iron oxide PR101. So now we are continuing with the artist grade watercolor colors, and the first we will be swatching is the Schmincke Ultramarine, the one they call Ultramarine Blue, because they have three different versions. I already mentioned the finest version. They also have, I think the other one is a French Ultramarine. This one is just called Ultramarine, and I have it in my super old, nearly 30-year-old collection, and I wouldn't buy it anymore. I've bought it as a child. I didn't know anything about pigments and what qualities and stuff like that. I just thought the color is pretty, so I wanted to buy it from my own money. And this is a mixture between a PB29 and a PB15, so there's a phthalo blue in it. I have absolutely no idea why you would call it an ultramarine blue when you are mixing it with an PB15. So I really don't know. You definitely can see the phthalo blue through it. It tends a lot more, in my opinion, to a phthalo blue in the color shade, but it of course granulates because of the ultramarine blue. So I think it would be a good choice if you say you wanted an phthalo bluish color which is granulating, but not as a main ultramarine blue. The next one I will be swatching is from Mugello Mission Gold, and it is also not a single pigment PB29. They added PB15, so an ultramarine violet to it, and they call it ultramarine deep. I've have it in this set I've bought years ago, which contains the small 7 or 5 milliliter tubes. And from the shade itself, I like it. It is a little bit like the Van Gogh version, which tends a little bit more to the violet side. This reason, in this case, the reason is of course the PV15, but it granulates very beautifully. I've heard a lot of people say that the Asian watercolor brands don't granulate. That is definitely not correct. They do granulate. Sometimes they granulate maybe a little bit less than other brands, but they definitely do granulate. And this one is very beautifully granulating. So even when it's not a single pigment version, I do like it because it looks very pretty, but I wouldn't buy a pan or a tube on its own. Like I said, I've had it in the set, but you can easily get a color like that if you're just having a single pigment PB15 and a single pigment PB29, and you're mixing it on its own. I think it is much more versatile to have the two pigments as a single pigment instead of buying a tube or a pan from this ready-made version. Sorry, I'm yawning. Yeah, so of course, if you say you're super mixing lazy and you like to have everything pre-made and have the money, then go for it. But for me, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't buy it because I think it can be easily made yourself. So the next one is a German brand called Lucas, and they have a studio, a student grade range called Lucas Studio, but this one is their artist grade range called Lucas 1862, and they come in this very cute tubes with contains 24 milliliters. Of course, like I said, prices differ depending on where you live, but here in Germany they are on the cheaper side. So you're getting like not 9 milliliters more of paint and spending less than you would spend in other brands for a 15 milliliter tube, for example. So I've also seen people from the US, for example, using Lucas watercolors, and they also said that they are cheaper there. So this is maybe something to check out, because you get a really a lot of paint for a small amount, much smaller amount of money. What I don't own a lot of Lucas paints, but in a lot of the Lucas paints I own, I've seen them a little bit less pigmented, a little bit lighter, not getting as dark as other brands. So that is just something to keep in mind. In some, oh, I'm so sorry. In some colors, I think it is not really as important to as in maybe others, because there are always some colors you're using more on the lighter side and some colors that you're using more on the darker side. So yeah, the next one comes from India, and it's called Kukyu Camlin, or on the sets also often is printed on camel. That's their artist's grade range. They also offer much cheaper student or kids watercolors, which I cannot get in Germany. I can only get the tube set, and I can't buy it single tubes here, but I know they do sell single tubes, at least in India. I don't know, maybe in other areas as well. Can't say that for sure. They are super cheap, but here in Germany, with the shipping costs and the customs on top of it, they aren't as cheap anymore. So that is something to keep in mind, because I ordered mine from Amazon, but they came directly from India. So I had to pay customs and shipping fee as well. They're offering different sizes also in their tubes. I have chosen the one with the big tubes, which contains 20 milliliter, and they also offer sets with smaller tubes, but I've calculated, and the milliliter price in the set with the bigger tubes was much better, so that's why I've chosen this one. They offer a light fast information, which is not that super reliable, because I've seen one Indian artist doing an long time light fast test, and the some of the colors didn't he saw weren't really light fast, which were labeled as light fast. So that is something I would keep in mind. I only use mine for art. I know I don't hang up on a wall. Not I will gift to or sell to others. So it's what I call a sketchbook brand, or sketchbook colors. So yeah, keep that in mind. But they don't offer any pigment information, sadly. But I've painted a lot with these paints. They are very good in their quality. You can do a lot of great art with them. I like them. But like I said, for me here, I won't ever buy them probably again, because of the high costs, and I don't get the pigment information, which is a bummer for me personally. I do think it is a genuine PB29, because nowadays ultramarine blue is a cheap pigment. It wasn't in the past, when it could only be made up from Lapislazuli, because it's a very expensive stone. And at the time, at medieval times, only one mine in Afghanistan could provide lapislazuli stones. So it was also the problem of it was not easily found. Only has gotten from one place, then you had a lot of shipping to do, so the costs for transportation were also very high, and then the process of getting the blue part out of it is very time consuming, and you have a lot of material going lost in that. So from 1 gram, you won't get 1 gram of color, so you have a lot of loss in the process, and all that made the color super expensive. And yeah, they were sold for a lot of more times their weight in gold in the medieval ages. But nowadays it's a super cheap color, so that is also why we find single pigmented PB29s in student grade sets, for example, or in cheaper sets as well. So these two colors here are in the triangular shaped areas are, I think they are from Russia. I've already only discovered them a few months ago, and they are, at least in Germany, super, super cheap. I've got them on sale for this first one is called Malevich, and the full pan I'm holding in my hand, I think I've paid around 60 cents or something like that. It's super, super cheap. It's a single pigmented PB29. They offer light fast information. They offer information about the pigments. Also, like the one we are swatching next, the Vista Artista. I think it's also a Russian brand. The pans from the Vista Artista are a little bit smaller than the normal full pan size, and but also a little bit higher. But I think it contains a little bit less color than our standard full pan size. So yeah, I was really, really surprised about the quality of the paints in both one. I definitely want to buy some more in the future, but at the moment I don't have the money to it, because you can buy when you get them for the prices I have. I think the Vista Artista one I've bought also for a little bit more, like maybe €1 for a pan. And you can get like the whole range for something like 20 to 40 euros, depending on the price you are paying, if you get them on sale or not. So that is super, super cheap. And that's the reason why I definitely want to explore more of them, because I was extremely surprised that the cobalt blue I've ordered from Vista Artista contains actual PB28 or genuine cobalt pigment for that low of a price. That's super unusual. So the next two colors are from My Mary Blue. It's an Italian brand. I've met it on directly in Italy, because every place you can get them in Germany, they are way, way overpriced. They're super expensive. And normally the My Mary Blue aren't that expensive. So I've ordered it from a big art store in Italy. And to my total surprise, the color they call ultramarine blue is the one I'm swatching now, and it is only PV15. So it's not an ultramarine blue, it's ultramarine violet, and I was a little bit surprised about that. So I will be swatching this one in the ultramarine violet video as well. Keep that in mind. If you want an ultramarine blue, don't go for the ultramarine blue in their brand. Buy the ultramarine blue deep. That's PV, not a PV15 like this one. It's a PV29. So that is something to be aware of. But the quality of the paints is very, very good. I have not painted a lot of with them, because I've only bought them this summer. But I want definitely explore them more. They are very good quality for much lower price than other artist grade watercolors, at least when I ordered them in Italy, because it's in the EU, so I don't have to pay any customs and stuff like that. That's a plus for me. And I've bought them when on sale, so got them even cheaper. The pigment itself is an granulating pigment. I mentioned that. You have seen that as well. Probably most of you also know that, but it is also one which has a property which is called flocculating, and that means that the pigments are clumping together and building big puddles where you find a lot of the pigment. So you have a big splotches of color in one area, and in some area it seems like there is no pigment at all. That is called flocculating. That's a, yeah, I would say like a special variety of granulation, and they try to reduce this effect by milling it more finely. It still does flocculate, but I think what this means is that if you wouldn't mill the pigment that finely, then the effect would be much, much more extreme. And I think when you look at it, that some brands you have more granulation, then you see the flocculating also is more common. And if it would be super extreme version of flocculating, then it would be hard to color an area, because you would have a big puddle in one side and an empty space on the other. So that's the reason why they're trying to reduce this effect. The next two ones we will be swatching is from the Korean brand Shinhan, and the are from the PWC line, which is their highest grade. It's their artist grade. And it is a little bit confusing because they offer a student grade range, and they offer one they call artist grade, which is the range in between the student grade and the PWC version. So the highest quality line is the PWC, and that is the one we are will be swatching, because I don't have access to the other grades in Germany. I only can get the PWC version, but this is also the one I'm mostly interested in. The tubes are, at least here in Germany, one of the with the lowest price you can get. This one and the Polish company Renaissance are by far the cheapest, starting at €3 for 15 milliliter. That is so cheap. When I compare it, Schmincke Horadam starts with around €9 in Germany, and for Daniel Smith, for example, I'm starting with €15 per 15 milliliter tube. So three to €6, depending on the pigment prices. I have to pay for the Shinhan, and that is super cheap. I've swatched first the Ultramarine Light. That is also something to consider. We have the, like I said, the French Ultramarine, the normal Ultramarine. We have the more finely milled versions like the Ultramarine Finest, and we have also versions like a light and a dark or a deep version. And the first one we have swatched now is the light version, and we will be swatching the deep in a minute. If some of you are interested in how it is produced, I have some information at least. The production is a little bit different nowadays to what it was around 200 years ago. The modern one, I've found the information, is a mix, is to mix anhydrous sodium carbonate with a charcoal, clay, rosin, silica, sulfur, and slowly calcined in a reducing atmosphere to which is 1380 degrees Fahrenheit or 750 Celsius. So the various shade of colors, if it's an ultramarine blue, an ultramarine violet, or the red shade, blue shade, and something like that, is depending on the heating time and the ratio of silica and alumina. Synthetic ultramarine particles are rounder and finer and more even sized than the natural one. So that's also the reason why the genuine Lapislazulis oftentimes granulate much more than the synthetic versions. If you don't have watched my ultramarine color family videos so far, I will put a link in the description box below where you can see all the colors in the color family. If some of you are interested in a deeper look at the PG24, the ultramarine green, and more additional swatches on different papers and with much more water to get out more of the granulation. So please let me know in the comments below if there are people interested in it. I will do a separate video for it, but I didn't do it so far because I only have the one from Crema Pigmente, and I haven't seen any other brand offering an ultramarine green, so I couldn't compare it. But if you want to have a deeper look at it, just please let me know. I've mentioned in the ultramarine color family that a guy from France in 1826 was the first one to accomplish making an artificial synthetic version of it. But he didn't share his recipe. So 2 years later, in 1828, chemistry professor from Germany in Tübingen called Christian Gmelin had found out how to make synthetic ultramarine blue and is nowadays known as the father of synthetic ultramarine. And I have some information about how this old recipe worked. I will tell you in a minute, but I wanted to mention that the ultramarine blue I swatched just now was the one from a Chinese company called Phoenix. That is also a company I've just get to know the same time, which I've started to know the Malevich and the Vista Artista. I've got all of that from one shop, and the Phoenix watercolors were around €1.20 for a 7 milliliter tube. So it is also super, super cheap. They also offer information about the pigments and the light fastness. So that is definitely also that all of these three brands I want to take a deeper look in it in the future. We'll definitely make some videos with their other colors as well. So here we have now the next two, that the one I swatched just now and the next one are both artist grade ranged colors from the Chinese company Paul Rubens. The first one is the one from this green set I've shown you. So that's the normal watercolors, and the next one is the one from the Kiao Mei watercolors. That is a special set of watercolors which comes in a pen version or in a tube version, and it is a super, super special set. I will definitely make soon a video about this set in the future because it has some very, very unique and special pigments in it. And you can see that especially in the dried swatches afterwards, that the shade of the ultramarine blue is very differently. Also, normally the Paul Rubens colors are very solid, very smooth on the surface, non-sticky, and the Kiao Mei definitely are more like what you're knowing from other brands with this slightly gummy, sticky kind of feeling when they are dry. So they definitely has have a different recipe for those two lines, just to know. And the next two we will be swatching are from White Knights. That's the first one is their Ultramarine, and the second one is the Ultramarine Deep. So that is both from the White Knights brand. I must say I really like the Kiaomei version a lot. It is a very, very beautiful kind of hue for the ultramarine blue. Both are not so much granulating. The Shinhan PWC Ultramarine Deep, for example, granulates much more strongly than those. Also, the Phoenix does granulate a bit, but yeah, I would say on this page the Shinhan PWC Ultramarine Deep and the White Knights Ultramarine Deep and the Micello version are the ones that granulates the most. So the recipe from Christian Gmelin in 1828 says that ultramarine blue is created by fusing kaolin, soda ash, glauber salt, sulfur, carbon, and kieselguhr. And I didn't know what the hell is kieselguhr. I have to look that one up. And the information I got is that it is a powder of diatoms and also called in English diatomaceous earth. I hope I pronounced it halfway correctly. I'm so sorry if not. And I also wasn't sure what is kaolin, and that is a porcelain earth, so a special kind of earth. All of that will be heated without air for 7 to 10 hours. Then you will get the ultramarine green, the PG24. This one has to be cooled. Then I've written down cooled with, cooled and then ground and mixed with 7 to 10% of sulfur. The blue hue develops after heating it for another hour. Then it's cooled again. Then it's washed. I think then they will be washing out all the particles which you don't want to have, only keeping the ones with the most intense dark blue colors. And the residue is also called ultramarine ash, and you can still buy a real genuine Lapislazuli ultramarine ash, but it's still super, super expensive. So it is a very yeah, a gray with a slightly tint of blue, so it's a gray bluish color for those of you who don't know. So after it is washed, you will ground it while wet, then leviate it and ground to a fine powder. All through Lapislazuli and ultramarine blue are chemically the same. Lapislazuli has different working properties, and it contains iron pyrite crystals that can give it a slight sparkle. I've never seen one of my genuine Lapislazuli watercolors sparkle, but at least it says it could be. So that is something where the damn it, synthetic versions and the natural versions are a little bit different to each other. So just that you know. So the last on this page is the one from our Ukrainian brand Rosa Gallery. Rosa Gallery is the artist grade range of their colors, and I love them a lot. They are here in Germany are also super, super cheap to get. For many years, I only could buy sets, pan sets, and one tube sets, and now finally one German shop offers at least most of the colors in tubes and single pans, so you can get additional colors of it. I know in other countries you could get them for a very long time that way, but in Germany it was super hard. Don't know why, but I'm super happy that I can get now single tubes or single pans. And I really love this versions a lot. It is super highly pigmented. It can get super dark. It granulates very strongly, so it's totally my cup of tea. It's also my one of my more favorites shades of ultramarine blue. So yeah, I really love this color. So then we will be now heading to the last page, so our last swatches, which contains other brands you already probably know, like Schmincke, Winsor Newton Professional, Roman Schmal, Blocks, Daniel Smith, Da Vinci, Rembrandt, and some handmade ones as well. I must say, I already knew that there are different versions of ultramarine blue before I made this video, but I really was surprised that they are that much different sometimes. I thought that it is more, don't know how to say that one in English, English much more similar to each other, and you don't have to, you wouldn't have this much of a difference between the hues. A lot of them still are very similar to each other, but you still have some, at least some versions which are very unique. So some of you may have seen one of my latest review videos where I reviewed this beautiful set from Paul Rubens made with some real shells. I will put a link in the description box for those of you who haven't already seen it and maybe want to. This is the French ultramarine from Paul Rubens, so that's the reason why I've added it here. The reason why I've had to do the triangulars here was because yeah, this set and two others were on my desk in one of the corners, and I didn't see it. My my big desk was so full of watercolor sets and tubes for this video that I lost a little bit of the oversight. So yeah, that's why I had to put some of the triangulars in this one. The next one I will be swatching is from Winsor & Newton Professional. And I mentioned that I don't like the Cotman range so much, but I do absolutely love the Winsor & Newton Professional watercolors. They are very good quality, and I have a lot of colors from them in tubes. I have only one pan set, which I've bought second-hand, and some of you may already know this from my cobalt videos. I will put a link in the description box as well for them, because I thought I don't own a cobalt yellow, real genuine aureolin. And when I was doing looking at all of my sets for the cobalt swatches, I've seen, oh, look at that. I have a cobalt yellow in my Winsor Newton watercolor set. They don't offer it anymore. They have discontinued this color. But in my set, like I said, I've bought it secondhand. It was only swatched once from the previous owner, and it was super cheap. So yeah, that's the reason why I have a genuine cobalt yellow. So yeah, the version here from Winsor Newton I like a lot. It has a very beautiful shade of ultramarine blue. It granulates nicely. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite versions from all of my versions I own. The next one I will be swatching is from Sennelier. That's a company from France. and I don't own a lot of watercolor from Sennelier, only a few tubes and a small pen set. I think I will be showing it. Yeah, I do. Um, I don't recommend this super cute and beautiful box because I don't know how many times it fell over because of its weird shape. It isn't very easy to stack stuff with shapes like that. And then all of the pans flew around, all of the uh, color blocks came out of the pans, and that was really, really hard to see which block is which color because with artist grade paints, because of the transparency, a lot of the darker colors just look like black uh, blocks. And yeah, spent a lot of time to uh, have to look up which color is which and put it in back in. So it's super unhandy. If you want the set, then I really recommend try to get your colors to really, really stick in the pen some way. But they are very nice colors. Just important to know is that the recipe for the colors in pen form and in tube form are different because they're using a lot of honey in their tube paints. They don't dry as well. So the drying time is, I think, too high for the company. So they have another formula for the pen set that also can make colors appear a little bit differently in tube or pen sets. That is just something to know. And also have a little bit difference in how they perform, how you are able to work with them. Just to keep that in mind. If you are loving, you're having a pan of it and loving the color, then when you're buying a tube, it can be different a little bit. I don't think the different is super, super extreme, but yeah, just so you know. The one swatched just now is the Ultramarine Finest from Schmincke Horadam, and that is definitely one where I nearly can't see any granulation. So it's super, super smooth for a granulating color. The next one I will be swatching is from Core, and I have this cute set, the Core mini set. I have to mention that my set is super old, so I know they changed the formula of their half pens, I think last year. Um, I have seen a video from someone who bought a new set and then compared the two versions. Um, I think it is a personal preference if you are liking one or another more, but just to keep in mind, if you're buying now blah, 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 damn it, an core mini set, that it can be a little bit different from my version. Core are using not gum arabic. They are using their own made binder called Aquasol, which is a clear liquid in comparison to gum arabic, which varies from yellowish to brown. So that's of course the reason that at least with some colors you have a little bit of different of maybe a shade, because when you have a very light color and we're adding a binder which is dark brownish, then of course it will look a little bit different than for using super clear one. So a lot of their colors are super, super vibrant because of it. I've read that they are loved especially for restoration of old paintings. And I really love the core watercolors, but I wouldn't recommend them for watercolor beginners because they flow very, very massively over the page and are very hard to control. And I think that is would be something very difficult for a complete beginner in watercolors. So now I will be swatching the one from Roman Schmal. I think they have different versions. The version I have is called Ultramarine Intense. And yeah, there are colors coming in full pans, and I think they are starting selling this beginning this year or something like that. Also half pans, and they are working on tubes as well, but you can't buy any tubes at the moment. I heard from another YouTuber who met Roman Schmal that he isn't happy with the quality so far, and he will only making a tube version available when he is completely satisfied. So now we are looking at blocks. That is a company from Belgium. This version is called French Ultramarine Blue Deep, and they come in normal sized pans and also on tubes and also on this super super big and beautiful porcelain pans, which are containing 18 milliliters and have this nice little brush rest on it. I've seen on some YouTube channels that Winsor Newton once was selling also big ceramic pans like that, but they stopped selling them years ago. I have only a handful of those from blocks because they are super expensive because they are containing so much paint, starting in Germany around 20 euros and up to 30 euros for one of the pans. Of course, they are not very travel friendly, so they are only for using at home. But if you are ever able to use up one of the pans, you have a nice mixing area because you could use the empty pan for when you are in need of mixing a lot of color because it is high. The outer walls are very high, so you could really, really put a lot of water and color in this one. That's really, really cool. I like this a lot. Also like the color. The shade is very nice. It doesn't granulate as strongly, at least not on this paper. And I'm honest, I haven't used those colors a lot. I have had only the Payne's Gray for a very, very long time. That one I used a lot. But the others I've bought, I think, around end of last year, something like that. So, yeah. So, the next one we will be swatching is from Daniel Smith. And it was my first ultramarine in a tube. That's also the reason why I have used a lot of that color already. That's their French ultramarine. Of course, they have also different versions. I only own the French ultramarine, and it is definitely one of my favorites. Um, Used it a lot. It granulates super strongly, which I love. So if you are not into granulation, that is definitely not an ultramarine blue I would recommend for you. But for all of you which are also granulation lovers like me, that is definitely one which I can highly recommend. Works super, super awesome with mixing your own super granulation colors because of the strong granulation. Also, the special shade of ultramarine blue it has is very, very beautiful, I think. And Daniel Smith colors are always super heavily pigmented, so you will be able to get it very, very dark. I know I didn't put enough paint on this swatch to get it super, super dark, but I've used it for years, so I really can say it definitely can get super dark if you wanted to. So the next ones we will be swatching are from Rembrandt. That is, like I said, the artist grade range from Royal Talents. Van Gogh is the student grade range. And I like the Rembrandt watercolors a lot. I have one pan set and I have a few tubes of them. Um, the pan sets are not that cheap, I've discovered, but the tubes, in comparison to other brands, at least here in Germany, are more on the cheaper side. Also, they're containing 20 milliliters instead of 15. And like I said, in Germany, they are on the cheaper side. So they are, for me here in Europe, a very good deal. I know it can differ in other areas of the world, but I've seen a lot of people using the colors all over the world. So at least you are possibly can have access to them more easily than to maybe some other brands. The first one is their French ultramarine we have just swatched now, and the next one we will be swatching is their ultramarine deep. And when I compare these two colors, the French ultramarine is not as strongly granulating as the ultramarine deep. And when I compare the shades to each other, then I must say I like the ultramarine deep a lot more. That is more my cup of tea. I have the French ultramarine in my pan set, but I've bought a tube of the ultramarine deep. So yeah, for me personally, I like the other version more, but that is just personal preference. It has nothing to do with the French ultramarine being lower in quality or something like that. It's just, like I said, my personal um, opinion, or because, yeah, taste differs between people. So maybe you are not liking granulation or you are liking different shades like me. So that's totally fine. I don't know how much the colors are in other areas, but I am paying around €9 for the cheapest price category for a 20 milliliter tube in Germany. So that is a really, really good price. When I compare that, for example, to Schmincke Horadam, I'm starting also with €9 in Germany, but their bigger tubes are only with 15 milliliters, so you're getting 5 milliliters more for the same price. That is a lot of color, which can last you for a very long time. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But also, I've seen that some of the tubes or pans I have from Rembrandt are not as highly pigmented as from other brands. I have a PO48. I've bought various of those when I've heard that the pigment is being discontinued because it's one of my favorite oranges. So That's why I've bought from a lot of different companies. And when I compare my PO48 from Rembrandt with the one I have from Daniel Smith, the Daniel Smith version is definitely more pigmented, and therefore it is higher, the price is higher, but you're needing less paint to get to the same result. So that is also something to keep in mind. But if you are not someone who uses colors always at their darkest version, then you definitely, I think, get the cheaper deal with the Rembrandt colors being that much cheaper than other brands. Yeah, then I thought, oh, I have colors from A. Gallo. I have a beautiful set my husband gifted to me this year to my birthday and last year to Christmas. So it was a gift for both events. And then when I opened it, I thought, oh, damn it, all of the blues it contains aren't an ultramarine. So I have to leave this box empty, sadly, because I don't own an ultramarine blue from A. Gallo. But I've ordered, I think, beginning of this year or end of last year, I've ordered colors from Da Vinci because I've seen so many American watercolor artists using them and saying how good they are, and I really, really wanted to try them out, and also because they have still have at least a mixture of manganese blue, which is containing the real PB33. That's also something I wanted to try, and the Mother Violet was also one I really, really was interested in. So that's why I ordered a pan set and a few additional tubes. And I must say I really like the colors. This ultramarine blue from them is a very, very beautiful version. But the down point for everyone European based is the high cost of shipping and customs, which came additional to the price you're paying. And I know that this is a brand which is very cheap in the US, but for us Europeans, it gets very expensive when you are adding customs and shipping costs on top of the price. So I don't think it is something I will do often to order colors from them. Maybe in a few years I do reorder some of the colors, or if I have the chance to go back to New York. Normally, my husband and I would have gone once a year to New York, but then COVID hit and we have to cancel all our planned trips. And yeah, at the moment, our financial situation, because of my chronic sickness and the reason that I can't work because of it, um, didn't give us the opportunity to go back to New York. So yeah, when I would go to make a trip to the US, then definitely I would stock up on Da Vinci paints there. Maybe have some artist stores sell it directly, or I could order it to the hotel also. But yeah, I won't be able to order them for a few years because the costs are super high, and I would need to do a very big order that I say the transportation costs really damn it, I don't know the word, but I think you get what I mean. So the last one I will be swatching, you may have seen in the Lapislazuli video already. This is a handmade brand. I've also have a handmade Lapislazuli from them, and also in the video about the cobalts, you have may seen me using their smoked version. And I must say this is one of my absolute favorite ultramarine blue. They call it ultramarine extra dark, and that is definitely true because it's the darkest ultramarine blue of all of ultramarine blues I've owned or ever seen. None of them get that dark, and it has a super beautiful granulation. I really, really love this so much. So yeah, now we do a close-up like I promised. You see how much the superior is granulating and how dark it is. So from the first page, uh, which we are looking the close-ups now, I must say the Kishu you're seeing now, the superior, um, and the sonnet and the Van Gogh versions are my favorites. That are the ones I would say I like the most. I would say the Winsor Newton Cotman is nice as well, but like I said, I don't like the scrubbing you have to do with this pens. So yeah. So we're taking a look at the second page. There you can see the two double pigmented versions and all the others, of course, as well. When I take a look at all the colors here, I would say my most liked versions are the one from Rosa Gallery, the Shinhan PWC Ultramarine Deep, the Ultramarine Deep from White Nights, and the Paul Rubens Kiao Mei Ultramarine Blue. I do love the Mijello version as well, but like I said, you can easily accomplish that when you are taking an ultramarine and mixing it with a PB15 by yourself. So um, I wouldn't buy it as a single pan or a single tube. I personally wouldn't. But those are definitely my most favorites. I like these dark reddish shades of ultramarine blues with a lot of granulation. So on the last page, when I take a look at all the colors, I would say my favorite versions are the Daniel Smith French Ultramarine, the Rembrandt Ultramarine Deep, also the Winsor Newton Professional one I have, and of course the handmade one, the last one. That's my absolute favorite. It's so damn beautiful. And you can see how much darker it is when you are taking a close-up and how beautiful the granulation is. Really, really love this. So yeah, this was definitely a super, super long video. And I thank you all so much for watching it, and all of you who are sticked to watching it till the bitter end, I say a big, big, big thank you so much. And I really hope it was interesting and you get maybe some information which you didn't know before. And also, I hope that this super long comparison between different ultramarine brands are maybe helpful for you to see which versions are the one you like the most, so that you don't have to buy all of the colors and can say, okay, now I see company A, company C, and company Y are the ones I like the most, and then can look it up which of those brands you get for the best price at the place you are living. Yeah, and I already have filmed the material for the ultramarine violet and the ultramarine pink video, so I will try to upload every of those videos in the next weeks. So we are doing this Friday the ultramarine blue, and I try to do next Friday the ultramarine violet, and the Friday after that the ultramarine pink. And after that we are starting with a new color family, and the overview video about the next pigment family I've already filmed as well. So I have to do only the post-production stuff and um, my voice recording for those videos. So that will help to get the next 3 weeks, I think, pretty smoothly. So I hope you maybe leave me a follow that you don't miss one of those videos, and maybe if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Both of it is very much appreciated and helps my channel a lot. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye and take good care of yourself.